Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Angela, and welcome back to Ethony's 31 Days of Tarot 2022 prompts. So today is day 18. The question is, which tarot decks give you the most insight from the imagery and symbolism? And I had to really dig deep for this because if I didn't, I would be using the same decks I've used in almost every video. So I decided to, this is kind of a disclaimer, I've decided to use decks that I don't show very often, but they are still decks that throw me, a couple of them are newer, so there's that. But I narrowed it down to 5 decks that I either haven't shown very often, well, none of these I've showed very often. Well, one of them I've showed recently because I've just recently got it, but well, I got it in December. Yeah, both of them in December. But they're decks that I haven't shown on my channel very often, and they're also decks that there's cards in there right off the bat that was just like wow, and it blew my mind and changed my way of thinking. And they're not my usual. If I had my way, I would have been throwing and this is also decks that I got in 2021, so it's nothing previous to that. But if I had my way, I would be throwing the same decks you've seen already on some of these prompts, like the Tarot of the Abyss or the New Chapter Tarot or the Stretch Tarot. Those are the 3 decks that I was going to throw in here, and I'm like, no, because I've been wearing them out. They've been all over my channel. So I chose 5 decks that I don't normally show. So, for the first deck, I'm going to have the box here somewhere because I'm actually using it this week, is the Dream Keepers Tarot by Lisa Houston. And I guess this was an indie deck first, and then it went mass market. But that's the box. And because I'm using it this week, I'm keeping it in this little pouch I made with a little tiger's eye looking button. This deck is published by US Games. This reminds me of the next deck I want to show you. That's kind of a blue backs. I love their newer cardstock. It's like butter. This card right here is the one that I was just like, wow. Blew my mind. It's the Fates. And it reminds me of a movie, if you guys ever seen a movie called Wanted, where they literally have, they're weaving the thread of life. They're basically creating fates for people, and everything goes haywire, and they wind up bucking up against that because it's like one person forever has been creating other people's lives for them. And I just found that fascinating. This reminds me of that movie for some reason, with the 3 fates. And look at the clock below. Like, there's a clock below them. They're literally on like a glass clock. And I just love that concept. And then this card is probably technically the first one in this deck that I'm like, spoke to me on such a deep level. Because as the second I started my spiritual journey, when I started uncovering things and realizing, oh my God, this stuff is real. The meditations I was having, the insights I was having, just blew my mind out of the water. And when I first saw this card, it is exactly what I was saying when I first started my spiritual journey. Every time I would have a meditation or have a synchronicity happen, I would believe a little bit more in what I was doing. And I would always say, I feel like my life is one big puzzle, and I'm just finding the pieces. There's little pieces here and there that I'm finding, and I'm making out some of it, but I don't quite know the whole picture. And I saw this card in this deck, and I'm like, I need this for that reason, because this sums up to me what I was going through when I first started my spiritual journey. But I mean, this deck is weird and strange also. It is very dreamy-like, which is also what drew me to it, because I have the craziest dreams. And look at that. Those two are right there together, the Queen and King of Cups. But yeah, this deck is very weird and strange too. And anything, even now, I mean, I do have a few RWS decks, but anything beyond RWS that you can't quite say is an RWS style deck, I love. Just because to me, it's a kind of a bucking up against the system kind of deal. I love that. And this is one of those decks that do that. And it makes you think outside the box. And I love outside the box thinking. Look at that. The wings. Just gorgeous. So that is the Dream Keepers Tarot. Yeah, it's on Amazon. I think 25 bucks, 24 bucks, something like that. But it's beautiful. And I love it. And I've just started, it's one of my kind of New Year's resolutions, or one of my decks to start diving deep into more again. And I've been using it this week, and wow. It has blown my mind. If you have not, and I don't have the book on me because it's in my bag for work, but the book for this, it's phenomenal. Phenomenal. So the next deck, Tarot of the Mystical Moments by Katrin Wells Stein. I've talked about this deck so plenty of times also. These are the backs. They look quite like the deck I just showed you, the Dream Keepers Tarot. But this one's not blue. This is more of a sage green color. And it's silver gilded, and it's fat cards. And I think I did the wrong ones. Yeah, I put them in the back. These are the first two cards I pulled from this deck. Put this one in here too. This one I think was the first card I pulled from this deck, the Wheel of Fortune. And I think it came at a time where I was just like, this is crazy, because I've been having issues with my chest. And I've been getting the same message forever that says connect head and heart. Connect head and heart. And if you see here, the heart is turning the gears. So if the heart stops working, all of these stop working. And I just found that quite fascinating with what I was going through health-wise. And then we got the Knight of Swords, and her sword is her pen. She's got words written all over her, and I was just like, oh, that's just stunning. And, no, the pen is mightier than the sword. And I was like, what? And then here with the heavy burdens, even if it's flowers, she's picking. It's almost like she's doing this to herself. And I found that fascinating. And there's so many more things in this deck. And it's funny because I was not drawn to this deck. I was drawn to the Oracle deck. And then I wound up getting this one first. And I was just like, wait a minute. I love this deck. And I don't show it very often. I do use it quite often. I just don't show it that often. But yeah, it's stunning. It works so well. So beautiful. So yeah, that is the Tarot of Mystical Moments. Which, yeah, if you guys been seeing my channel, yeah, I just showed the death card from that. That's beautiful. And the stitches, just stunning. And then she's painting it. I'm like, what? That's just beautiful. And then the Eight of Swords, it makes me cry. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous deck. Gorgeous. I almost wish it wasn't gilded, though, because the gilding kind of bites into my hand sometimes. But I can live with it. So then we have the Guardian Tarot. This is a newer deck to my collection. I have showed it a little bit, but not that much. I've said before, this deck feels like a deck. I think I've got it right here, yeah. This card Three of Cups. This card sums up what I see in this deck. This card makes me realize it's almost like they're beings that are living in the world with us. And because I'm more spiritual now, I'm able to see them for the first time, living side by side with us. And I found that very fascinating with this deck. And then this card, I've got this imagery with the cello. I've got in a couple different decks, and it's weird because I had a dream about a cello, and every time I see this card and then one other deck I have, I think of that cello, and the dream I had, and it was a very spiritual dream, and yeah, but this deck is gorgeous. And again, it's one of those that's just different enough from the RWS that it makes you think. Really makes you think about what the situation is, what's happening, what's going on. Each of these beings, I feel like, are a different person or personality even, and they are real beings that I can connect with on a more succinct level, and I found that quite beautiful with this deck. And it's just, yeah, I haven't tried to use it as like a medium mystic reading deck yet, but I think it would be great for that. But yeah, this is the Guardian Tarot, and I love it. It's almost like the Guardians are your guides or our angels, in a way. And we're meeting all the different personalities and all the different domains that they watch over. It just makes this deck very fascinating to me. And I don't have another deck in my collection that gives me that same vibe as this one. So that's why I love it. It's very unique and different, and the coloring in it is gorgeous. So yeah, that is the Guardian Tarot. And that's published by Red Feather. It's the same creator or the same printer as the Tarot of She, same cardstock and everything. And then we have, because I don't ever show this deck anywhere, the Surrealist Tarot. There's so much going on in this deck. And it's very weird and strange. Again, it is not an RWS deck. This is the backs. It's published by Low Scarabaro. It comes with a little white book. And I didn't say the Tarot Mystical Moments, we all know, is published by US Games. This deck, look at the moon there, like gorgeous. I think I put it here. This is the first card I pulled from this deck. And I just get the vibe that there's so many choices that they're overwhelmed and can't make any decisions. And I'm like, what? So, yeah, that's what I saw in that. I'm just like, but it's one of those weird and strange. There's so much to derive and pull from each card. And I love it. I love that it's out there. I love that somebody took love that. Had the audacity to go out beyond what we know of tarot. And I love that. Deep. And I love the coloring in this. You wouldn't think you would, but once you have it in hand, this deck is gorgeous. The coloring, the skies in it are just fantastic. And I love the little white book. It actually gives you details on what's going on in the image. So I love it even more for that, because usually you don't get that in a Low Scarabaro little white book. You just get it in multiple languages and some keywords usually, and that's it. And it gives you a little bit more in this deck. So I love that. So that is the, oh my gosh, I just hit the camera. Sorry. That is the Surrealist Tarot. And it's by Luigi Di Giamarino. And I love it. So it looks like we're down to the last deck. And that is the Mystical Medleys, a vintage cartoon tarot. Published by Liminal 11. I've seen a lot of people give a lot of flack for this deck, saying, oh, it's not a real tarot deck. It's not Yeah, it's not a real tarot deck. Look at the little sun in there. Love it. But, and I've seen people even anti-haul it, give it away, whatever. Love the cardstock. It's amazing. It shuffles great. This deck is cute, right? So cute. And I have some cards I wanted to talk about right off the bat. And I don't know where they went. Don't know where they went. Or are those upside down? Oh, yeah, they're there. Okay. And I'm out of frame, sorry. So, this card right here, the Seven of Pentacles, I always see that as you're reaping what you sow. You get, you're planting the seeds. You're about to be able to do the harvest. And he's just like, is it worth it? Is all this hard work worth it? And I love that concept that, usually in this card, you're like, it's worth it in the end. You'll see. It's going to be great. And he's at that moment where we all have that back-breaking moment. We've done... If anybody's ever moved by themselves and they had a full house to move, would get this moment that he has on his face. It's like you're so tired, you're ready to drop, but you still got to set up the bed in the new house. You still got to put the kids in their new bed, and you're just utterly exhausted. And that's what I see in this card. And that, amongst so many other cards in here, is why I'm like, this is not some kitty little sweet deck. This card here, the Five of Wands, I've always said the Five of Wands was my Starker card last year. It's that card that I always see it as, everybody sees it as conflict. This sums up what I see in the Five of Wands. The Five of Wands, yes, is about conflict, but for me, it's self-conflict. There's self-contradiction here, and that depicts that beautifully there. And then the Eight of Swords, my favorite card in any deck. I love she's all comfy, cozy, little ladybug, it looks like, with her shades on. She's going to sleep in the swords. Like, to me, there's no worry here. And that's scary. Because the Eight of Swords is a card of, feeling trapped and blinded to things. She has gotten so comfortable in the trapped zone that she's now moved past trying to get out of this bad situation that she's in. And I love that this, to me, depicts that, because I've felt like that for a lot of times in my life. I felt, because I so fear change, that I would rather sit in the uncomfortable situation instead of moving on and moving out of it. And that right there, another reason why I'm like, this is not some fun kitschy little deck. It is hard hitter. The imagery is just, it brings it to another level with the cartoons work. But to me, it's a darker deck. And I don't know if it's just my opinion, but and of course I'm weird. I like darker decks, even though it's on the surface beautiful and light and fluffy. It's not. And that's why I'm like, I love this deck so much. And everything is alive in this deck, too. The buildings, the bed's crying. Like, come on. But you can take it. It gives it enough of a push in a different direction that it makes you think about things. It makes you think about what's going on, really going on in the imagery. And I love that. So, yeah, that is my 5 decks. This is and it comes with a little hard book, as all Liminal 11 books do. Mystical Medleys. I love this deck. I haven't used it as much as I've wanted to, but I know enough about it, worked with it enough to know this is not some light, fluffy, sweet little deck. It's not. And then it's got a couple extra cards, the Happy Squirrel and the Sad Squirrel, which I think I just passed. Let me go back here. I don't know where they're at. But, yeah, so that is my 5 decks that I chose to do for day 18, which, again, is which tarot decks give you the most insight from the imagery and symbolism. And it's not the ones I use all the time, and that's why I made them in this video, because they don't get enough credit. So, yeah, that's my decks, and if you have any questions, comments, concerns, don't hesitate to comment below. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more, please subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification button so you're alerted to any future videos, and y'all have a good night. We'll see you for day 19.